My God, child. Let me tell y'all something. The way that I am happy to be back, I am happy to be back. I'm happy to be back. And I'm happy to be back because we have things to discuss. And I'm not going to hold y'all. I hate talking to y'all from faraway lands, okay? I don't like when I have to talk to my people from 60,000 miles away. I don't like when I have to talk to y'all from the abyss of I don't like when I'm far away and I have to talk to y'all because I don't have my setup and things, and I broke my little light. Like, there's a lot that has happened, y'all. I need my little clip thing. I had to order one from the thingy-majigger of the clipper thingy-majiggers that you get your clips from. And so now I feel like my lighting is all overexposed. It's just a lot. It's a lot. I go away for 2 weeks and come back and everything is messed up. But anyway, have y'all heard about Donnie McClurkin? Have y'all heard about Donnie McClurkin? Okay. I have been, y'all, Donnie McClurkin is you know what I'm like, Donnie McClurkin is just very interesting to me because how you keep getting caught being a punk while talking shit about people that are punks. I think that's the thing that has really been working me, is that Donnie McClurkin is forever and always constantly being a punk while constantly talking shit about people being punks. And I feel safe in being able to say punk without getting too many, flags on the play, because I don't feel like white people who run the TikTok thingamajiggers, like, I don't think that they understand for real, that word. And so I feel safe in using it. But let me tell y'all something. I'm so sick of these church people this week. We're gonna talk about Donnie McClurkin, but we also have to talk about this Jamal Bryant situation. If you've seen my video about that, then y'all already know how I feel about that. And there's so much to discuss when it comes down to these people, because I just feel like, first of all, every 1 to 3 business years, Donnie McClurkin ends up on somebody's shit list, and somebody has to remind us that this man is gay. Okay? And I think that Donnie McClurkin has to remind Donnie McClurkin that he's gay every 1 to 5 business years, because while he's being delivered, okay, and saved and sanctified with the holy blood of Jesus, he is also bouncing up in boy booty for the sake of his holy relief as well. And nobody is talking about it because we all want so badly to believe that God can change these feelings and things and rigmarole. Like, we just all want so badly to believe that these people, and this Bible can take away this thing that God already knew was God. Like, I don't understand how in one breath people can sit back and say things like, God knows everything, he's omnipotent, he's this, he's that, he knows it all, he sees it all, he knew who you were gonna be before you knew who you were gonna be, but then turn around and say he don't make gay people. If God knew all of these things, and if God knows, and if he's this grand wizard poobah of knowing the business, then how are gay people and trans people not of God? And how is God just so unpleased if he created the heavens and the earth, and he knows of all the things, and he created all of the beings, and he knows all of the business? I'm confuzzled at how somebody that knows all of the business didn't know you was gonna be a punk. I just don't get it. I don't get it. Somebody that's all up in everybody's business didn't know people was gonna be gay. And this is why I find religion, in the sense that people want to talk about religion, to be laughable. Right. I find these topics in particular to be laughable and to be somewhat unbearable because then you have all of these folks who are willing to die on a cross about who they love rather than to sit in the reality that sometimes you are just going to love differently than the majority of people in the world, and that's okay. You are going to have to understand that there are going to be some people that don't get it, and that's okay. You are going to have to move and shake with the fact that some people are going to dislike the choice that you make in a mate, and those things are okay. Blasphemous, though, they are not. Abominable, they are not. Like, can we make it make sense? And I only say this because I think that I want folks to truly understand the asinine nature by which some people like to make queer and trans and LGBTQIA plus folks feel like we are less than, feel like we are small, feel like we are inadequate, feel like we are, these disgusting people of the earth, while also preaching that this God that said all of those things about us also knew that we were going to be these things and actively let us be these things in order to hate us and send us to hell. But he gave his only begotten son to save us, just to send those of us that he was going to make gay to hell. Because God don't bless mess. But then you have people like T.S. Madison, who is constantly blessed. People like myself who are constantly blessed. People like RuPaul and I'm confused at how the Lord hates the punks, but the punks be winning. Because Donnie is a punk. Donnie McClurkin is a punk. And he's been blessed to win time after time after time after time after time after time after time in the field of gospel. Huh? He's been blessed to figure. I just don't understand. I don't get it. I don't understand it. Okay. And so I wanted to come here and I wanted to really just sit with y'all and have a conversation about this Donnie McClurkin situation for a little bit. And I also wanted to talk through this Jamal Bryant situation because y'all have been asking me like what my thoughts are beyond the little video that I dropped a couple of days ago. And when I tell y'all the church people are in them comments fighting each other to the death, it is something serious. They are down there playing gladiator in those comments. And what I think is very funny about both of these situations is that church people are some of the funniest people on God's green earth. Because some of these people who are actively talking crap about this woman's dress, some of these people who are actively talking crap about the way that this woman showed up to a gala fundraiser, right, are some of the same people that are going to be under Beyonce's post where she's half naked promoting this next album, talking about how Beyonce looks amazing, right, and how she looks so great. And I already have had some of these folks say things like, oh, but those people don't represent Jesus. Why does Beyonce not represent Jesus? Why does Beyonce not represent Jesus? Why does Beyonce not represent Jesus? I be confused at how y'all like to get, because my thing is anybody with platform, anybody with visibility, anybody with some sense of influence over a mass amount of people who have been blessed by God to have that type of influence definitely represent Jesus. Right? And so those things are so funny to me because I sit back and I go, y'all be the same people that will turn around and look at Tiana Taylor on the red carpet with her abs out, boobs out, stomach out, booty out, crack out, coochie lips out, just all out, everything out. And y'all will say, oh, Tiana Taylor ate. She ate. And in certain instances, that lady got more influence over your children than you do. In certain instances, that woman got more influence over your household and the way that your wife thinks than you do. Than God does. And I know a lot of y'all don't want to sit in that. I know a lot of Christian people don't want to sit in that truth, but a lot of you all take more issue with the pastor and the first lady who people don't even really want to be like than you do with celebrities who folks who are actively trying to emulate. Your pastor is trying to emulate a person of worldly value. That's why he's driving around in a Benz and a Mercedes and you're driving around in your Hyundai, barely making it to church on Sunday. But your pastor is wearing Gucci and you clapping it up for him. And whole time his inspiration is Gucci Mane. Of the world. And I am so confuzzled and confused and confabulated, right, at the ways in which people will nitpick and choose which one of these things they're going to support and which one of these things they are going to downtrod. When these people are literally emulating folks of different parts of the worldly aspects that we are supposed to be staying away from. And these are the representatives of God. These are the representatives of God that y'all are talking about that are emulating these other things, but y'all support them and then call this lady a $2 hoe. Let me tell you something. That bishop that called Jamal Bryant's wife a $2 hoe. And I don't care how he tries to spin it. He tried to say, oh, I'm not calling her a $2 hoe. I said that he had her dressed like a $2 hoe. And either way you spin that cookie, you call that lady a $2 hoe. And if I were Pastor Jamal Bryant or if I were his wife, let me tell you something. There's not enough Jesus and God in the world that would make me not tell my husband to go fuck his life loose. Do you hear me? Because it's one thing for the world to be talking. It's another thing for another man of the cloth to be talking and to be using his Sunday sermon to sit his Mrs. Potato Head looking ass wife up there and talk shit about me and sit back and say things like my wife would never. Sir, Bishop, your wife could never. There's a difference. We all saw what she looked like sitting in that first lady's chair. She could never. If she put that dress on, nobody would have cared. And do you know why? It's because she would have looked like a grandmother trying to give a vibe. And we would have all just respected the fact that grandma was trying. And I think that that's the real reason why a lot of these people are pressed. Y'all are pressed because not only did the lady put the dress on, but the lady looked damn good in the motherfucking dress. And she didn't look like she was 62 years old going on 85. She looked her age. It was age appropriate. It was body appropriate. It was a nice dress. It was well constructed. It did not show way too much cleavage. It covered her breast. She wasn't bent over all night. She wasn't yanking all on the dress. It was a dress that suited this woman. And unlike a lot of you all who have first ladies who have allowed themselves to have so many fish fries that they no longer look like the woman that you married 20 years ago, this woman is still snatched and y'all cannot stand it. You can't stand to see people walking in a truth that is theirs, that is based on their own thought process and thinking and not the indoctrination of the church, which is another reason why Donnie McClurkin is out here still pretending that he's not gay and that he's been delivered all of these years, because Donnie McClurkin is one of those folks that has allowed the church to make him believe that he cannot think for himself outside of the word, the ideology, and the social construct of a church house that does not want him, or anybody for that matter, to even be alive. If them people had it their way, Donnie, they would take your music, rip the flesh from your bones, and give it to somebody who they believe deserves it more because they don't have your desires. And you're bending over backwards to convince these people that you don't like a little boy butt every now and then, when we all know if we pull back those incognito tabs from about 5, 10, 15 days ago. You were just engaging and looking at and looking over men. Yeah, this whole idea of him being sued and this boy coming out with these allegations is a new thing. But despite the allegations of the sexual assault and all of this stuff, Donnie has been gay. He's been a punk. He's been doing the things that he's been doing for as long as I've been alive. And I'm sick and tired of people sitting around acting like this man is not. Y'all, I made a video that's gonna go up tomorrow about Donnie McClurkin. And I was just searching for photos of him to insert into the video. And every single one of these photos, as my straight cousins would call it, gave zest monster. There is not a single photo that you can find of Donnie McClurkin on the internet that makes him look like a heterosexual man. I am so sorry. That baby looks like every closeted queen that hasn't come out to their grandma yet. In every photo I tried to find. There's not a single photo that gives man of power. There's not a single photo that gives high priestess, man of God. All of those photos look like a scared queer boy who is afraid for his grandmother to find out that he's been tipping around and playing with the next door neighbor's little son in all of the most inappropriate ways. And I am sick of us acting like we can't see that. And again, a lot of y'all are only proud of people saying that, oh, Donnie McClurkin was in a space and, he's been struggling, but he's actively, y'all are proud of things like that because then you get to justify the way that you treat your own children at the house. Then you get to justify the way that you treat your gay uncle that you don't want to drink behind, even though he's not even HIV positive. Then you get to justify the way that you kicked your daughter out when you found out that not only was she a lesbian, but she desired to present herself in a more masculine way. A lot of you people like to justify the stories of fake salvation people like Donnie McClurkin and that other little delivered boy and all of these people that claim that they used to be and now they not no more and all of this other stuff. Y'all like to uplift these stories because it makes you feel better about being a jackass to the people who are actively saying there is nothing broken in me to fix. A lot of you are getting your kicks on Route 66 off of the same story that is slowly killing Donnie McClurkin because it makes you feel good to believe that there is a possibility model. Because if there's a possibility model for somebody being fixed, then the way that you are treating people on the streets, in your home, in your family, at your schools, at your job is justified because you have then told yourself that if you bully somebody long enough, if you hurt somebody long enough, if you belittle somebody long enough, then that person can change. And that might happen, my love, but it's not going to be because of the salvation of the Lord. It'll be because that person is tired of being beaten. It'll be because that person is tired of you hitting them and harming them and physically and mentally and verbally abusing them. It's not going to be because they saw the light of the Lord and now all of a sudden their days are longer and their nights are shorter and they've seen the way that the Lord can change and move them and bring them and pull them out. Y'all need to stop telling these people these lies. Y'all need to stop telling these people these lies. There is nothing wrong with being gay. There's nothing wrong with being a lesbian. There's nothing wrong with being transgender. People want you to believe that there is something wrong with it because it adds you to another list of people who they deem as indisposable. People that they get to shit on, piss on, and treat horribly whenever they see fit. They add those people to the list and make you feel like you have a one up on somebody when typically you don't, when typically you never would have, unless these categories and subcategories agreed. And so when people show up and say the queers are the people that nobody's gonna give a fuck about, the trans are the people that nobody's gonna give a fuck about, all of these types of people are gonna be up for fair game. Y'all run at the opportunity to become the oppressor that you said that you didn't like. A lot of these people don't even think that there's anything wrong with being gay, queer, trans themselves. They just like the ability to be able to do disgusting, horrible things, say disgusting, horrible things, feel disgusting, horrible things about someone else because somebody has made them at some point in their life feel that way about themselves, and they can't wait to enact those same feelings onto someone else. Somebody in the comments said, but Hope, how do they know that with no representations? Let me explain something to y'all. I should not have to tell adult people that treating people with decency, kindness, and respect is free. And for the most part, you don't. If we're walking down the street and we all saw a man going off on a woman who was just standing there minding her business, and this man was going off on this woman because this woman was wearing a hairstyle that he didn't approve. Let's just say this woman had a buzz cut because that was her prerogative. No cancer, no backstory. She just shaved her hair off because that's how she liked her hair. And some random dude on the street decided, oh, I'm gonna go off on this bitch because how dare you? I don't like women who don't do and perform femininity in the way that makes me feel the most comfortable. At some point, some random stranger walking by who catches the context of why this man is in this woman's grill is gonna stop and say something. Correct? We don't have to tell other people that the decent thing to do would be to diffuse this situation. But in the adverse, we've seen people try to diffuse situations, specifically with trans women, right? Where a trans woman and a man will be fighting. And people will be rushing to the aid and saying things like, oh, that's a woman, like, don't be doing that, break it up. And somebody in the crowd will almost always say, nah, that's a nigga. That's a tranny. That ain't what you thought it was. Huh? And immediately, the person who was trying to help finds that to be a justifiable reason to stop trying to help. The person didn't say, no, she stole from him. The person didn't say, no, she hit him in the face. The person didn't say, no, she ran out of his business with $500 worth of merchandise. The person said, no, that's a tranny. And for some reason, y'all find that to be a justifiable reason to let go of your morals, to let go of your help, to let go of the idea that somebody is still being beaten, likely for no reason other than the fact that they exist as trans. And that's it, and that's all. You didn't need an example of why it wasn't okay to beat a woman up over a haircut. You didn't need an example of why it's not okay for somebody to treat their children horribly just because they didn't want to have children and the children just so happen to show up and you having a bad day. But for some reason, when it comes down to queerness, y'all need examples. Everybody needs an example of what it looks like to be able to live in your own truth. Everybody needs an example of what it looks like to treat a person fairly, or treat a person like a decent human being while being queer. I don't understand why parents need an example to show up in their house to decide that they don't want to treat queer people that way. I don't understand why society needs an example of a decent queer person to decide that they want to show up and allow queer people to exist without. I don't get it. But you know what? You know what makes sense? You know what makes sense? People don't want to get it. They don't want to treat queer people differently because it's one less group of people that folks don't give a fuck about you picking on. And quiet as is kept, there's no group better to pick on than queer and trans people. And do you know why? Because most people can benefit from being able to have access and do it without having anybody say anything to them. You want to beat a bitch up and get away with it? Go find a trans girl on the street and just bop her in the face and see how many people stop you. I'm just saying. You want to beat somebody up and get away with it scot-free? Go find a random trans person on the street. Bop her in the face. Make sure she's visible though. Make sure that it's very clear to other people that she trans. And bop her in the face. That's it. And if somebody does walk up in the middle of the exchange, just say, "Oh no, bro, it's a trans." And watch how quickly people give less than 3 fucks. And I am convinced, my theory is that is the reason why people play dumb around the topic, around the ideations, around the thought process of queer people being treated with respect, because they understand the concept. But they don't like the idea of giving up the access and the power to humiliate, to beat, and belittle a group of people without consequence. It doesn't matter what other subgroup you belong to. If you want to do something vile to another human being and most likely get away with it with little to no repercussion, do it to a queer or a trans person who is visibly queer or trans. And watch how people will support you in your bigotry, your violence. Just watch. Just watch. It's disgusting. And what's even more disgusting is that even when you are a queer person, if you want to be able to benefit from that system, you can, so long as you hide your queerness better than the other ones. You want to benefit from the system that queer people have to be subjected to as a queer person, just pretend to not be us. Which is what Donnie McClurkin has been doing. But eventually that gets old and that gets tired, because eventually people get sick and tired of having to pretend that they don't love what they love, that they don't enjoy the things that they enjoy. People get sick and tired of not being able to talk out loud about the love that they want to feel or experience. And so those things and those fetishes and those lies that you tell yourself turn into violence. They turn into risky behavior. They turn into sexual assault and abuse on other people who did not deserve it. That's what that shit turns into. When desires of the heart go unchecked, go suppressed, go repressed, when they show up, they often show up in ways that are too violent to actually be loving. You can't love somebody through an identity that you've been taught to hate. You can't show up as holy and see somebody else's love for their wife be what it is when you've been taught to hate bodies that don't look like a certain body that you have access to. Because a lot of you men wouldn't care about Jamal Bryant's wife looking the way she was looking up in that dress if your wife had the ability to look the way that she looked up in that dress. I know a lot of pastors who said nothing. I know a lot of pastors who said nothing. But I also know a lot of pastors' wives who look the same as you know, Pastor Bryant's wife looked in that dress. I know a lot of those women who look exactly the same way. And whether they would have worn that dress or not, the ability to be able to is the difference. That's what some of y'all are upset about. It's not about the dress. It's about the fact that some of you all's wives don't have the ability to be able to wear that dress if she wanted to. A lot of y'all couldn't go and buy that dress for your wife if you wanted to, because your wives will look like a sack of potatoes in that same fabric. Huh? And what I like to think about is this idea of desire, right? A lot of people talk about desire in the sense of it being something that is dirty or wrong, something that needs to be suppressed. People say things like, oh, not all of your desires have to be manifested. Not all of your desires have to be sought out. Not all of your desires have to be something that you pursue. And let me explain this to y'all. One of the things that I find to be the most infuriating is people who are actively pretending that they don't have a desire for something. I'm not a person that can pretend like I don't have a desire for something, someone, a particular activity that I want to do. If I like you, love you, want to be with you, I can't pretend that I don't want those things for the sake of the moment. I can't pretend that I don't want those things for the sake of being able to keep you around. If I desire you and I can't have you, then you got to go. And that's not my ego. That is me understanding that there is nothing that I'm going to be able to do to convince myself in my mind that I don't want you, so that we can continue this friendship, so that we could continue this relationship, so that we could continue doing this thing that further strengthens my desire. I can't do it, babe. Because as I'm pretending that I don't desire you while still getting to know you and still getting to see better parts of you and still understanding how awesome you are and how amazing you are, my desire is being leveled up in ways that I don't appreciate because I can't act on them. I can't sit around a motherfucker that I know for a fact drives me up a wall and pretend like they don't. I don't see how people do. I can't sit around a person that inspires me and pretend like they don't. I can't sit around a person who gets me wetter than a motherfucking fat bitch's coochie in the hot summer and act like I don't. Desires are not meant to be suppressed. They are meant to be worked through. That doesn't mean that you have to act on them in ways that might shift the relationship or change the narrative, but it means that they have to be discussed. It means that they should be talked through. It means that they should be amplified in ways that allow the person with the desire or the people with the desire to be able to express those desires and then figure out how to make those things work so that that way there can be a relationship that works for the both end. But suppressing desire for the sake of trying to hold on to a relationship that never actually existed in the first place because it was founded on the desire that was had between one or two people is never going to work. Donnie McClurkin is a product of somebody who is trying to suppress desire while actively navigating relationships. Donnie be sitting around all of these fine ass church butch queens acting like he don't have a desire to dig up in there. And what we constantly see from him every 5 to 6 business years is that desire has a desire to creep out because it is constantly being ignored. I'm not saying that Donnie got to suck dick. I'm not saying that Donnie got to get him some booty. I am simply saying that Donnie needs to stop acting as if he doesn't want it and talk through the idea that it's that he does not want to engage in the sexual act, but that he is not going to ignore the desire. And some people are hell-bent on ignoring the desire. Some people are hell-bent on ignoring the fact that they like whatever it is that they see in front of them. Some people are hell-bent on ignoring the fact that this thing just does it for them in a way that they've never had a thing do it for them before. And rather than sit into that truth, rather than sit in that autonomy, rather than sit in those things and have these conversations out loud, people would rather suppress them, pretend like things are working, pretend like reading that same Bible verse is helping you, pretend like you don't like these people, pretend like you don't want these people, pretend like you don't desire this man, like your flesh don't jump around them, like you don't desire to be in close proximity with these people. And rather than talking through it, acknowledging it, and finding ways to navigate it, you pretend as if it's not there. And when it finally does surface, it does not surface in ways that are healthy. But is it our responsibility to force him to accept his desire? No. But when it pop out, we gonna talk about it. And that's embarrassing. I could imagine. I could only imagine. Because it has to be more embarrassing for your desire to keep embarrassing you than it would be to just acknowledge that you are who you are and allow people to know what they know, so that way a person can't use it against you every 3 to 5 business years. And at this point, it's not even about people using and weaponizing your identity and your desires against you. It's about your ability to allow your desires to overtake you every so often in a way that gets you in trouble. Because if a person knew that desiring Donnie McClurkin meant that all they were going to get was conversation, they might not want to be bothered. And therefore, there might not be any way to entice you. But because people know that you can be enticed, because they recognize that you are actively trying to ignore your desires, people test the water. But if a person know they can't get nothing up out of you, they have 1 or 2 options. They can stick around and be creepy, knowing that you're not going to give them what they want. Or they'll decide that for the sake of their own dignity, they'll move on and do the thing that is best for the both of you all, which is to not suppress desire, but to acknowledge that it is there, but that nothing will ever come of it. Not everybody has to acknowledge desire by way of saying, I'm gonna go and be gay and do the things that the gays do. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that acknowledging that you have these feelings, but here's my boundary of what I'm gonna do with them, and allowing people to decide whether or not they're going to be able to understand, respect, and abide by those boundaries is a way that you can show up for your desire in a way that doesn't leave you in a space where you feel like it's pent up. And every so often, you got to do something and touch somebody and make somebody feel uncomfortable in order for you to get it out. If I desire somebody and that person is constantly telling me, Hope, I can't do nothing with those feelings that you're throwing at me. Hope, as bad as I would like to do something with you, I can't act on those desires. But here's what I can give you. If what that person is offering me is not something that's going to work for me, then it's up to me at that point to decide how I want to allow this person's desire and the way that they can act on it to impact me. Because if I can act on my desire towards this person, but they can't act on their desire towards me, then guess what? I'm going to go find me somewhere else to be at where somebody can act on their desires towards me. And sometimes that might hurt. Especially when you know that the person feels the same way but can't do nothing with it. It hurts. But at least you're able to walk away from the situation with your dignity. You're able to walk away from that situation unembarrassed. Because desire that is untamed is dangerous. Desire that is untamed is dangerous. And it is dangerous because people who desire something so bad will eventually do something risky to get it. And it doesn't matter what you think you are incapable of, what you don't think you would do, what you don't think that you would say, what you don't feel is in your wheelhouse. When you desire something, when that thing is eating at you, when that thing is the only thing on your mind when you're around a person, those things and those actions eventually come up. And most of the time they come up in ways that are not healthy for you or the person. And there are so many closeted people who are holding on to desires that they can do nothing with, and they end up harming people when they are only trying to love people. In your mind, this is love. To this person, this is weird. This is abuse. In your mind, it's just simply desire. To this person, this is an invasion of space. I have been there. I ain't never been closeted, but I've been there. As a trans woman who has wanted a lot of niggas, who has desired a lot of niggas, who have straight up told me what they could and couldn't do, I've had to walk away from a lot of motherfuckers. I've had to leave a lot of motherfuckers who I've really, really, really desired to be in community with the fuck alone. Because they've made it clear to me that regardless of how they might feel about the way I look, up here, they can't get past the fact that I'm trans. And so it's never going to be what I need it to be in order for it to be a healthy relationship. And I'm not going to just be comfortable being fucked by you every now and then when you feel like you can draw up the strength to do it. So guess what? As much as I love you because I desire you, the best way for us to navigate each other is sparingly. Meaning that I see you when I see you and I don't when I can't. And if we never see each other again, or if we only see each other on occasion, I'm okay with that. Because I would rather see you on occasion and know that we leave a good taste in each other's mouth, whether or not we can actually taste that thing, than to chase a desire and ultimately run you away. Donnie is not the first closeted church queen, and he ain't gonna be the last. But I truly wish, and I hope that this is one of those things that really makes him reevaluate the way that he sees himself. Because moving through life, telling yourself that there is something wrong with you, so much so that you have to constantly embarrass yourself with your own truth, is sad. The church has to move away from painting desire out to be this disgusting feeling that nobody who is holy and in search of the kingdom of God should be feeling. None of us are perfect. We were born into sin and all of that shit. And so understand that desire is a natural and an innate part of what it means to be an imperfect human being. It's also something that we have to be able to teach people is okay in moderation. It is okay for a man to desire to see his wife in an outfit that is form-fitting, in a place and a time where that outfit is appropriate. And wearing a fitted gown to a gala is an appropriate time to wear a fitted gown. I see people saying things like, oh, but the congregation shouldn't be fantasizing over their pastor or the first lady. If you fine as fuck, somebody's going to fantasize about you, whether you got on a 3-piece suit or your birthday suit, pastor. And there's nothing that you could do about it because you can't control what's going on in somebody else's mind about you when they find you attractive. The only thing that you can control is what they do or what you do to them should they approach you in the wrong way. But a lot of you church folk believe that y'all have this all-knowing, unfiltered power to be able to tell people how they can think about you just because you're a man or a woman of the cloth. If your wife is fine, there's a couple of niggas in that congregation that want to fuck her, whether she's ever shown her body or not. Some men don't need to see the curves. If she has a beautiful face and she's a beautiful woman, there's a man in that church beating his dick to her, thinking about the Sunday school sermon. I'm so sorry to tell you. But if you've ever been a hyperactive or if you've ever been a man with a high sex drive, it don't take much. It don't take much. As a pastor, y'all stand up there in them suits every Sunday. Y'all walk around in your wingtips and your cute little, everything is tailored and it fits you and it look nice. And if you a pastor that look nice, there's several women in that congregation that have thought about putting that WAP on you on several different days. And there's nothing that you could do about what somebody else is going to think about how you show up in their head. You can't do anything about what happens up here when you're an attractive person who has been called to the cloth. So you just gonna show up in a box at the pulpit? Because if it was really about that, then we wouldn't need to go to church. We could hear the word on the radio. That way nobody could fantasize about a pastor or a first lady because they can't see him. Because if it's really not about the idea of lusting after your pastor or your first lady, then a lot of y'all would show up to church in the way that you walk around your house. Because if you showed up to church in your basketball shorts and your Ugg slides with your socks still on and the shirt with the ketchup stain from the hot dog that you ate on Saturday and you never changed it, I guarantee you it might turn a couple of people off. Some people might still be into that because you just never know. But at the end of the day, if it was really about just showing up to church and getting the word and not being lusted after, then how come we can't truly come as we are? And that's because it's not about the aesthetic, because y'all understand and you know that you can't control people's minds, but you want to control this woman's body. You want to control the way that this man feels about being able to show off this woman's body. But these are two adults. He was a man that bought a dress. She was a woman that liked a dress and put it on. They raised money for a great cause and they went home. Nobody had sex in the bathroom. He didn't grope her all evening in the dress. It wasn't a thing that was said that, oh, everybody that was walking around the convention center was looking at her and making disgusting gestures. And even if they were, again, she can't control what another man thinks or feels about her body. I saw a picture of her today where she was wearing a turtleneck and a long sleeve turtleneck and a floor-length jean gown. And you would think that that would be an unflattering outfit. She was still thicker than a motherfucking Snicker. The bitch was still stacked and she was fully clothed. The same woman that y'all are on this internet right now talking about enticing people's husbands with that dress on will still entice your husband fully clothed. I hate to use Nikki as a reference, but I could be all the way covered and still giving sexy. There are some women that can do that. There are some men that can do that. We don't need to see that he have a six-pack for him to be fine as hell. She don't have to be wearing booty shorts and a crop top for me to be able to see that she fine as hell. And some of you all, quiet as is kept, are upset not about the fact that this woman had on these dresses, but y'all are sad and y'all are mad at the fact that nobody's lusting after your wife on the internet. Y'all are mad that ain't a picture of your wife go viral yet. You done posted 1,001 pictures of you and your wife and ain't nobody talk about her. Everybody give your wife that fake, oh my God, look at my beautiful first lady ass vibe because you the pastor, not because she's that bitch. Huh? A lot of you men, a lot of you pastors and bishops are upset because your wives don't incite, and your wives don't incite excitement in you, let alone the whole motherfucking world. A lot of y'all are jealous of Jamal because you could never and you would never because you know that you can't. And rather than saying those things quietly, y'all are embarrassing yourselves publicly and using a black woman who has done nothing to anybody to do it, while publicly talking about praising a black queen. Ain't that about a bitch? Everybody praises their black queen. Everybody praises their black woman. Everybody wants to know that black women should be sacred, but y'all are actively bringing this woman down and calling her a $2 whore in the process of trying to get me to believe that y'all think that first ladies and women in general deserve respect, but you are actively calling this woman a $2 whore. Make it make the motherfuck sense. Make it make sense. Because if we believe that black women deserve protection, if we believe that black women deserve to show up, if we believe that black women deserve to be seen, if we believe that black women are queens, if we believe that black women should have autonomy, if we believe that black women should be able to be who they are and show up in space and be revered and be respected and be honored, then why can we not honor black women however they show up, when they show up, however they decide to dress what they show up as? Because if I am a Lord-fearing, God-fearing, praise-dancing bitch, then I'm gonna be that whether I'm in a bikini or a full-length gown. And neither one of those things should take away from your ability to see me as a woman of the cloth. And what I don't understand is that y'all will sit back and y'all will tell stories about Mary, and y'all will tell stories about how these people were chosen even though they were hoes and pimps and all types of killers and murderers, but then y'all will turn around and treat these very same people like they are unworthy of the kingdom of heaven, as if you were given keys personally by the Messiah. You have no heaven or hell to put people in. You have no heaven or hell to put people in. You have no heaven or hell to put people in. But y'all are having active debates about somebody else's wife in an attempt to uplift your own wife because of her own insecurities that she shared with you in private, since this whole thing has happened publicly. And now a lot of you all who haven't told your wife that she was beautiful since 1935 or the day that you got married are using this situation in order to make your wife feel valued by you through making somebody else feel some type of way about valuing his wife in the way that he saw fit at a space that was not dedicated to the church home at all. Some of you all sicken me because between the situation with Donnie McClurkin and the situation, thank you so much, my love, between the situation with Donnie McClurkin and this situation with Jamal Bryant, a lot of y'all remind people why they go away from the church. A lot of y'all remind people why they don't want to be around the church. Thank you so much, y'all. A lot of y'all remind people why they stay far away from the church house. Because the second that you do something that church folk don't believe is ethical, the second that you do something that church folk don't believe is correct, the second that you do something that church folk don't believe is godly, you become disposable. You become a $2 hoe. You become a punk. You become a sissy. You become a faggot. I'm not listening to his music. I'm not going to her church. I don't. The second that you fall short of the glory of God, the way that y'all say that we are supposed to, the same way that y'all say all of us do, the second that you fall short of the glory of God, there's some Bible thumping ass bitch there to make you feel like you've killed somebody's grandmother in front of them and made them watch. F1s in the chat, please. And it's despicable. It's despicable. It's despicable. There are so many people who could be doing so much good. There are so many people who could be saving so many lives, but refuse to show up at the church house. Because if that's what the kingdom of God looks like, if you all are the representatives of what it means to be saved, holy, and sanctified, some folks would rather remain sinners. If the physical manifestation of God is a Baptist, Episcopalian, Kojic church, I would rather stay outside and take my chances. If you can be Donnie McClurkin with all of the lives that I am sure that this man has saved through his music, and still fear what the church people are going to say, should you choose to be honest about your desire, then imagine the random boy up the street who has a gift to share with the church, but is refusing to step foot through the doors because he doesn't want to make one mistake, because the second that he does, he know y'all gonna call him everything but a child of God. My goodness. And then y'all wonder why so many people end up going down the wrong path. And it's because the right path also would have led me in the same direction. So I'd rather go where I know they're going to call me a punk than go to a place where they tell me that they're not going to, so long as I do what they need me to do. I would rather go to a place where I know they think I'm a whore than go into a place where I'm going to be called a whore for wearing a dress. At least when I walk over here, I know they think I'm a hoe. I know how to deal with these people. I can see this coming. But the way that some of y'all will lure people into the church, the way that some of y'all will actively bribe people into the church, lie people into the church, open the doors of the church, making people believe that it's a safe space for them to come and take their time to work through their things in the way that best fits them, and then beat them down through the entire process, is unholy. So yes, Donnie McClurkin is a punk. And that dress wasn't that bad. It really wasn't. A lot of you church folk are upset about both of these topics. Not because Donnie possibly might have abused somebody, but because he is gay. And y'all care more about the fact of this man being gay than y'all do about the fact that he violated somebody's personal space. Y'all care more about this dress than y'all do about the fact that this woman helped to raise millions of dollars for a great cause. because the kingdom of heaven is open to those who are willing to submit to the ideologies of men who have never been to, seen, or heard from heaven personally. But that's what y'all want us to give our lives, our time, and our tithe and offering over to, is a space that doesn't see most of us fully and will never understand us by choice. Ain't that about a bitch?